make it, just be creative, and maybe it's more of a mental thing,
Yeah.
and I can tell myself, okay, I'm tough because I did this. But
What are some hot weather races that you've done well in?
um, New Haven has been hot. I've raced well in Des Moines on the track. Houston's not usually that hot.
Okay, do you buy into the whole you're taller, therefore you have more of a problem with participation than a shorter person?
No, I mean I'm sure I weigh the same as lots of other people out there. I think if I was taller and bigger, but I think where I'm lucky to have I think a skinnier frame. I think that kind of might balance some of that out.
You've reached a point where you will be willing to walk away from running. Can you talk about the toughest thing about rekindling the desire and the goal setting? What was hardest about that?
I think the hardest thing for me was that if I was going to do it, I wanted to do everything at once. I have a lot of, talking with Andy Powell is I have a lot of OCD tendencies where if something's okay because it's this much, you do that much more. Like the thing with the house, like if I hear somebody 75 here, I put it up to 80 and still wear layers, that sort of thing. So coming back into it, I think I wanted to do a long training block and then just trying to jump back instead of use the races to kind of get fit and start in some of the smaller road races and get excited about racing again. And that was the conversation is if I'm going to do this again, I want to try to make a bid at trying to make the Olympic team. And it's hard just being patient for so long, running a grandma's marathon where I kind of was a little bit more hesitant. So kind of just to cover the distance and just get excited about it.
Do you remember what that point was when you got that excitement and you were like, all right, I'm back in this?
Honestly, I was having a hard time racing a lot of the other U.S. guys that I've raced just because you've been racing them in high school and college, and it's hard not to compare yourself to those times. And it's on the road. The thing is it's hard to say splits and times and that sort of stuff, but you're still racing a lot of the guys. Where if I had been true in a race and he would run away, and I'd be like, man, like I might have been able to cover that when I was training before. And so I actually went up and did a 10K in Vancouver, the Vancouver Sun Run. And my wife's family had done it for the last 7 years. And moving up, since I graduated college and started dating my wife, is that they tried to get me to do it every year. But because of the track season, I'm like, I'm not going to go do this race, right? And, I went up there and just had a good experience and, raced a few Kenyan guys that I'd never raced before. And it was just one of those mental things. And I think I was lucky enough to have the same sort of thing in Chicago where there was no pacer saying you're going to go out at this pace and just go out and compete. And I hadn't done that since probably high school. Even in college, you compare yourself to this other guy, and you almost intimidate yourself doing the race. Like maybe I shouldn't be up there.
You've had a lot of experiences, like mile up to the marathon now. Do you feel like this is your distance, or where do you feel like you best?
You're a little better at pronouncing my name now. I'll still remember that. My junior year, flow track was there and mispronounced my name a few times. But I definitely think the mile wasn't, I think that I did a lot of training for that, and that was good for my development. I didn't do a lot of 5K stuff until, I started really believing in the longer distance stuff not until probably sophomore year of college, which was still probably a little bit early in my development. And so I think that I was lucky enough to have high school coaches that kind of tried to get me excited about, okay, you need to work on your 200 speed, you need to work on your form because you're not going to be able to make it over the longer distances. But I think the longer, the marathon type races are good for me because the pace, if it's a tactical race, I can compete. Whereas on the track, if it's tactical, I've gotten a lot of, Olympic trials and NCAA championships where it was almost okay to go. Mentally, you're done because you're like, okay, well, this cousin will run 52 second miles 400.
Confidence-wise, you're more confident now than you've ever been in your career?
Yeah, it's just different. I think before it was almost, I tried to pump myself up by saying, okay, I did this workout. And, I think that it's helped my confidence knowing that I can go to the track and not put too much pressure on this workout. and be able to hit the times and feel relaxed. It's more about how you feel during the workouts. And so, I think I was pretty confident in the training the first half marathon I did, just because it was new in 2012 in Houston, and then being able to watch the guys in the Olympic trials the day before. But I never thought, okay, well, I'm going to be competing with those guys in 4 years. I didn't see me moving up to the marathon.
Having trained with Galen for a while, did you two ever think that you guys would be marathoners this quick?
Yeah, I think Galen kind of thought he was going to win. I knew after college I was staying on the track to kind of help the development. I didn't want to move up too early and have, that's why I still want to go back to the track after this, just kind of get that different stimulus and training and stuff. And but yeah, I think Galen always kind of wanted to push it later. But that being said, it's scary. Some of the, it's not just the workouts that I've seen him do, because a lot of these guys where you say, okay, I don't know if they're going to transition up well, they might run real easy on their easy days and be able to knock out hard workouts. But since I've known Galen in 2008, he's able to run the faster paces on the training runs, the days after knocking out these good workouts.
And the heat was never a problem with you guys?
The heat?
Yeah.
I think you just have to prepare. I think for me, it's I probably over prepare some, because I do worry about it's just one more thing, just one more thing to worry about.
Have you talked to Galen at all in the marathon build-up?
No, I haven't. I mean, I think I talked to him after Chicago. He came down to Eugene for one of the football games, and we talked. And he's very, he's a good friend of mine, and I think even when I was there, part of the group, him and his wife had me over for Easter when my wife was working on visa issues, and so I think he was coming into the marathon build-up. I think everybody was wondering whether he was going to do it or not. So.
You view him as the favorite or the guy to watch? How do you think about that? You view Galen as the favorite in the race, or?
I think I would never bet against Galen. I think that if you try, just going out of your way to try to beat, it's with any person. If I try to beat Mev, if I try to beat Dathan, there's always someone else. And I think you can't underestimate anybody in the field. But yeah, looking at Galen, he probably is the favorite based on 10K, and what he's done the 5K, what he's ran the mile. And I guess the mystery is if it's going to convert, and I think everybody's wondering now.
Who do you envision being there at mile 20, 6 to go, if you're in that pack? Are there guys that you're thinking are going to be right in there still?
Yeah, see, I've thought about that, and I've kind of stressed myself out because I've been in a lot of U.S. championship road races where you'll look around, and I had the same thing in cross country in college, and you'll be like, man, why is this guy still here? Why is this guy still here? But it's just the way it is. Maybe there probably could be potentially 10 or 15 guys there, and the race will be lost or won there. And so I think it's just kind of not getting too distracted, thinking, okay, it should only be 3 people here because the pace is moving. And so yeah, I could see it being a lot of people, or if someone strings out early, it being less.
You've come up during the time, thinking about the high school with you, Chris Derrick, German, high school, Galen, Chalanga, Lowy. You've been coming up through a very, very strong era of distance running here in the States and in the NCAA. Can you explain how difficult it's been to compete with at the top level and be in a position to win an NCAA championship or make an Olympic team?
Yeah, I think the crazy thing is just how deep the NCAA is. But even going back to that, is high school is that German was running out of his mind, and being able to try to compete with him, or Chris Derrick in cross country, and that was one of the hard things coming back into running, is not comparing yourself to those guys, because they're running on such a high stage, and they had, and I think everybody's had in the U.S. Galen wins silver in the 10K, and here he's putting in this hard work, and it's hard not to be like, okay, that's what I need to do.
Do you feel good to be here and be on the verge of having a chance?
Yeah,
to make
it
a team
feels
here?
good, and it's just different now. I think a lot of times just put a lot of pressure on it, and so it's now just to be relaxed, and if it happens, it happens. If not, it doesn't. So.
Who do you see being top 3 on the women's side?
I think since I'm not in the race, I can just come straight forward. I think Shalane Flanagan, Desi Linden, and then I think the third spot, I think that will be a tough one. But I would say Amy Hastings. What,